What's shaking booktube? My name's Cam and welcome back to another video. You want to know something awesome when it comes to booktube videos? When I'm actually reading a book, basically before the point where I get to make a book review video on it, I get to make as many fun, kind of stupid videos as I want. Anyway, the book I'm reading at the moment is Recursion by Blake Crouch, but we're not talking about that today. Today's another Wattpad video, and anyway, I came across one that kind of got me really excited before I'd even read it. It was a crossover between two of my favorite TV shows. Two absolute titans of the sitcom industry. We have The Office.
Bootlicker! Our prices have never been lower!
And Parks and Rec.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
Now, if you haven't seen either of these shows, this video is probably going to be a bit lost on you. It's probably not going to seem that awesome. But to be fair, if you haven't seen either of these shows, I'm sure your life is a bleak, colourless wasteland anyway, so you may as well just keep watching. But if you've seen both, or even just one of these shows, I think this video is... I think you're going to like this one. Hey, are you following me on Instagram yet? You're not? What? You should be. I mean, you're missing content like this. Huh? Huh? So anyway, here we are on Wattpad today, and you know what? I've decided that I'm going to start taking this a bit more seriously. I'm not going to just treat it as a flat-out joke anymore, so I think I should really quickly just update my profile. Okay, so the profile picture's a bit creepy. I mean, that was the original. That was the original intention, but let's update that to something a bit more, I don't know, appropriate. There we go, me smiling. I suppose I should probably update the cover photo as well, shouldn't I? I mean, the Minions thing, I think, is a hilarious joke, but we don't want anyone thinking I'm being genuine with that cover photo, so I'll update that one as well. There we go. Perfect. You'll notice I only have one item in my reading list, Annie's Bobs, which happens to be a bit of a fan fiction about me and Alison Brie, which I really appreciated. It's a really quick read, I'd highly recommend it. This may be really self-centered for me to ask, but I mean, if anyone had a spare moment, could you write just a little short fan fiction about me and maybe some cool celebrity or something? That would just be really cool. I think that would make a good video. Or maybe you could make me an action hero. Or maybe you could write a little story about me and all the other booktubers in a sort of Hunger Games arena thing. That would be pretty cool. Actually, that would be pretty dope. Someone do that. So anyway, let's get to what you came here to see. The crossover, the most ambitious crossover on Wattpad. I've already read it and I'm not going to actually read it in this video because it's not long, but it would be a pretty long video. So I'm just going to dot point it. I'm going to tell you everything that happens, point out some of my favorite parts. The story is simply called The Office Meets Parks and Rec. Easy. And it's written by Jenna Ostroff. It was updated 2 years ago, so I think it's kind of dead in the water at this point, which is really sad. But anyway, just a pre-note, I just want to say that I've read the entire thing and I love it. I actually really do love it. Jenna did a really good job of kind of capturing the humor of all of the characters involved. In almost all cases, everything feels on brand or in character for what they're doing. So the bio for the story is Dunder Mifflin decides to sponsor Leslie's campaign, so Leslie and the Parks and Rec crew decide to visit everyone at the office, and new friendships form, and even new relationships. So the story starts with the office gang, and it starts pretty brilliantly with everyone playing a prank on Dwight. Of course, the prank in question is that everyone's trying to convince Dwight that he's gone colorblind. They just replace a bunch of stuff in the office with things of different color, and it's just funny. So Michael calls everyone to the conference room.
Alright, everybody in the conference room.
He explains to the office gang, that they're sponsoring Leslie's campaign, and he tells Phyllis and Angela that they have 2 hours to prepare a welcome party. The story then cuts over to Pawnee, the Parks and Recreation crew, where Leslie is basically telling everyone there that they will be traveling to Scranton, Pennsylvania, so that they can meet the new sponsors of her campaign. It includes a bit of a funny exchange between Leslie and Ron that I want to read for you, because it just feels like something that would be in the actual show. So Leslie's just convinced Anne to come with her on the road trip to Scranton, and Anne says, I don't know how you're going to get Ron's permission to let us go. So it says, scene changes to Ron's office. Leslie, please. Ron, no. Please, no. Please, no. This will be good for my campaign. Please, think of me for once. No. They have a Hooters diner there. I hear they serve the best eggs in all the country. You should have just started with that then. Just Brilliant. So the Parks and Rec gang get their stuff together, get ready to go on the road trip. There's a bunch of banter, a bunch of on-brand exchanges, like Andy Dwyer saying dumb things, etc. A notable moment is that while Jerry's getting his stuff into the car, he puts his bag into the back seat and April throws it out of the window. While they're actually on the road traveling to Scranton, Pennsylvania, Andy pulls out a boomerang that he just bought, throws it out of the window of a moving car because he thinks it's going to come back. Then what we have is the actual meeting itself, the clash of the titans. So everyone at the office is finding hiding spots because the party's become a surprise party and they're all finding hiding spots for when the Parks and Rec crew rocks up. Kevin's running around giggling, of course. Dwight does some kind of action roll behind his desk. And then the Parks and Rec crew come in, everyone yells,
Hey, it's not a surprise.
And of course Leslie's overjoyed with this, she loves it. Ron's still pretty grumpy because on the entire ride to Scranton, everyone else in the car was singing 99 bottles of beer on the wall, so he rushes into the conference room in search of food. And then of course there's a moment with Ann Perkins, because she was actually a character on The Office as well, named Karen. And this was a bit I actually didn't like. I was kind of hoping that when it came to Ann Perkins, I actually thought they were just going to say that Ann looked a lot like someone that used to work in The Office, but Jenna went a different route and just kind of broke the fourth wall, which I didn't really like, to be honest. Karen, what are you doing here? Ann. Oh, didn't you hear? I left the office and became an actress on Parks and Recreation. I'm Ann, and I'm dating Chris now. Chris, I'm literally so excited to meet you. I love that you can write believable dialogue for Chris by just adding the word literally.
Literally.
There's a funny exchange between Andy and Andy where Andy is confused over the fact that there are two Andys. Andy Dwyer also for some reason brought his overnight bag into the office, so Michael tells him he can put it under his desk. He throws his bag in Michael's office while all the contents spill out and he slams the door. There's a couple of funny interactions from this point on with the little conference room party that they have. Ron and Stanley have a bit of a bonding moment over the idea of pretzel day.
Well, I like pretzel day.
Jerry and Toby bond over just being the worst. Kelly and Tom hook up, and I know what everyone's thinking is, just because they're Indian. No, you're racist. Maybe it's just because they're both extremely materialistic, impulsive, loud, and shallow. After a bunch of funny and heated exchanges between members of the office and members of the Parks and Recreation crew, Michael's trying to haggle with Leslie over basically the agreement that they'll have for the sponsoring of the campaign, and kind of inadvertently agrees to give them all of the paper products in exchange for Jerry's old printer and office chair, which is obviously a bit of a nice callback to that point in The Office where they're trying to decide between office chairs and a new printer. There's a bit of a funny spiel by Michael at this point on the topic of haggling, which I just think is perfectly on brand for Michael. You always have to start high and then creep your way down little by little. I remember when I went to the hardware store once and I picked up a hammer for $7.50. I finagled my way into paying $8.50, but get this, I got the warranty. If I ever broke that thing, I would have gotten a new one for free. I tried so hard to break that hammer, but I only ended up with a smashed driveway and a broken toenail. Still the best deal I've ever gotten. So then after that, everyone goes to Hooters for lunch so they can finalize the deal, have a bit more of a chat. Andy talks about how cool the place is and how much he wishes he could work there. April mentions that she used to work at a Hooters. Their waitress actually ends up being Tammy too, which is kind of odd, but funny. Funnier still because Michael promptly gets feelings for Tammy too. Ron finally gets his mountain of eggs and the story kind of finishes there. I think sadly that's where it's finished ultimately. I think Jenna intended to add more to it, but I mean, that was 2 years ago. It just doesn't seem likely at this point. I would love for it to keep going, or at the very least, I would love it if more crossovers would come up with these two shows because they're so perfectly, well, they melt together perfectly. I mean, the humor's so similar and it has the same format. You know, mockumentary talk to the camera style. The trickiest part, of course, is giving some page time to all of the characters because there's so many fantastic characters that didn't really get a whole lot of page time in the story, but you just don't have the time, really. And, you know, for a Wattpad, like fan fiction story, I think the writing was actually pretty good. I think Jenna did a amazing job at getting the humor on point. It definitely needed way more Leslie. There was not nearly enough Leslie Knope in this story. And I would have loved to have seen a bit more of an interaction between Dwight and Ron, just maybe them arguing about certain survival skills, or maybe even an interaction between Andy and Kevin. I think if those two guys went on a little mini adventure together, that would just be the best thing ever. I think that could be a whole story in itself. there's an idea for you out there. Anyway, that's it. Of course, if you want to read the full story, because there's a whole lot there I couldn't really get into in this video, but if you want to read it, it'll be linked in the description below. I definitely intend on doing more videos like this where I put a bit of a spotlight on certain Wattpad stories that I enjoy, because I'm having a lot of fun perusing through there. So follow me on Wattpad if you like. I'm sure at some point in the future, probably more for a video than anything else, I'll write a story and put it on there. Maybe a funny fan fiction or something. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video where I eat an entire book. Catch ya!